Sorry.
So we get some questions about what students can see in Blackboard now that Ally is enabled. And just to be absolutely clear, they cannot see your accessibility scores. The one addendum I would have to that is that they can see it if you are sharing your screen. So for instance, like I'm doing right now on this Zoom meeting, like I'm doing in the classroom right now with the projector sharing this image. So if you're sensitive to that, just be mindful of what you're sharing at any given point and know when to blank your screen if you need to. What they can see though, and this is the case for your classes that have Ally enabled right now, are these little A's with the downward arrow. These are our alternative formats. And these are ways that students can access the content that you have on Blackboard in ways that might meet their needs a little bit better. So let's go ahead and take a look at what some of these can offer. And just to be clear, these are not making changes to your files. They might look a little bit different than your files usually do, but your actual file itself has not been altered in any way. So really, we can see here there are a couple different options that students have, and I think really any student can benefit from some of these. For instance, a tagged PDF is a PDF version of your file that has structure. It has the ability to search text, the ability to make notes on text, and highlight text. It's just a more interactive version of a file. Let's take a look at HTML. So if I was a student, again, I would be on Blackboard and see, oh, here's my sample syllabus here. Well, I guess I wouldn't say sample if I was a student. And maybe I want the HTML version. HTML is great for browsers and mobile devices. So we increasingly see, and I'm sure you do as well, mobile devices being used in the classroom. So as a student, I would hit download, and I would get the file shortly after that in HTML format. A couple things we would note about this. It'll fit better to a mobile screen. As well, if I'm going to zoom in or out, you'll notice that the text formats itself around me zooming in and out. It's not like I'm zooming in on one specific letter. It tries to make itself a little bit more legible than that.
That's me, man. I sit a couple of feet away from the computer.
Sure, yeah, it's even good on a computer screen as well, for sure. Let's take a look at some of the other ones. We've got ePub. This is a way that you can view your content in electronic readers, iPads, stuff like that. Your students will need the hardware for that to work. In addition, electronic Braille. Your students have that hardware and they have difficulty with sight. This is a great way for them to access content that maybe isn't, if they're often reliant on audio content, this can be kind of a little bit of a relief from that sometimes, or just an alternative way for them to get the content that they need as well. In addition, we do have Mp3 versions of the content. And this is great. This is even useful for students that maybe they do a lot of traveling, maybe they're student athletes that are on the road all the time, and they can just load this onto their device and just listen to the content that you have. I would caution you though, if you are interested in using this, go ahead and check it out on one of your own files. Try to listen to one of your own papers and see how effective it is. Ally does do a pretty good job of flagging a lot of stuff and making content more accessible for sure. But there are some ways in that I think Ally still needs to work on perfecting the formula. For instance, if you are a person who likes to separate your page with lines, and instead of inserting a line, you actually just do underscore, a line of underscores, Ally is going to read those sequentially. So they'll read underscore, 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 underscore 20 times or whatever, how many times that you have that in. So it's a good way to kind of be aware of ways that maybe your content still isn't quite as accessible as it needs to be, that maybe Ally didn't even catch too. Final one I want to talk about today is Beeline Reader. Now, this is going to look a little similar to our HTML format. Actually, it's HTML based, but you'll notice that the text now transitions between colors as it goes down the page. This helps students keep track of where they are, if they have difficulty with concentration, if there maybe is a bad roommate situation, if they're just in Ophelia Parish, just in the lobby, and it's very loud with lots of students practicing. This will help them keep track of where they are. And it's even great for just if there's a big block of text, just to really know where you are on the page. Additionally, you may have noticed that it has the HTML ability to reformat the text. And at the top here, I have some customization options for the color of the text on the page, including a pretty popular night mode that students can access your content in. All right, so that is what students have access to. Again, they have access to these alternative formats in your classes as of whenever Ally was enabled in your class over the last 24 hours. I will say that it doesn't matter how accessible your content is, whether or not these are available. So even if your content is 25% accessible, the alternative formats are still there. They just may not be as effective. So just be aware of that. We've started our own student campaign a little bit with chalking to make students aware of these, but definitely let your students know that just kind of in a general non-targeted way that these are available, and they can check them out if they're interested. Any questions about alternative formats?